Okay, so hi. Can you guys hear me clearly? If I get a yes from you, then I know that you can hear me. So, Latika, would you just tell me if I'm clear? Okay, great. So now I look really goofy just waiting for somebody to speak to me and for me to speak. But my name is Payal Kapadia, and I'm a children's author till this year when I decided to write my first grown up book. This book is the book that won me the Crossword Award in 2013 for Best Children's Book. And after this, I wrote a couple of other children's books. I'm happy to share my experiences. I'm also here to take questions from other people who want to be writers, who want to figure out how to be creative and also be home. As you can see, I'm very much home. This is my workspace, my home, my sanctum sanctorum, and my refuge. So, ready to take questions from anybody here. Hi, Preeti. Okay, so I see a question from Kritika. She's asking, what are the features of a good book? Uh, Kritika, the features of a good book. Well, to begin with, it has to be a book that somebody wants to pick up and read, and a book that somebody wants to finish. So, essentially, a good book is about a good story. And the reason a reader actually turns one page and moves to the next is because he can answer the question, what happens next? So, in order to tell a good story, you have to keep asking that question and answering it for the reader. If the reader is not filled with suspense in terms of what happens next, the reader is not going to read any further. So, I think the greatest ingredient of a good book is the story, and to that extent the character. Can the character draw you into the story? Does the character engage you? Does the character make you feel sympathetic? Do you fall in love with this character? Do you hate this character? In other words, your reader has to care about the character and care about the story, and that's what starts a good book. I see a question from Latika. What are the tips for a beginner to start writing? There's no shortcut to writing except actually picking up the pen and writing. Or in my case, I'm just faster when I type. I'm much faster now when I type and not as fast when I write pen on paper or pencil on paper. But I think the secret to writing is to write more often. It's the way you would exercise or do anything else. Even your imagination and your words are like muscles and you have to exercise them. So the more often you write, the better you will become at writing. And there are today many opportunities to write. You don't have to wait to get published to write. You could just start by writing a diary, like a personal diary that also trains your mind to observe things around you, to write things down, to articulate yourself better. The other great way to write would be to be on a blog and to be a blogger, because there's a now fantastic opportunities to get your thoughts out there, even if you're not going to a publishing house and trying to get published. I can see a question from Tanushri. How did you begin? What got you ideas? Hey Tanushri, happy to see that you want to write too. Welcome to the writing world. It's a fabulous place to be. This is where I work. If you can see, it's pretty, I don't know how much you guys can see behind me, but this is pretty much my bedroom. It is also the space where I sit and write, and it becomes beautiful and quiet when my kids are not at home. Where did I begin? I began when, well, I've always wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a writer since I was 10 years old. And I started out as a journalist. I worked in Tokyo for 3 years. I worked in Hong Kong. I pursued my master's in journalism at Northwestern University in Chicago, and I also worked as a reporter in the United States. And then I came back and I worked with Outlook magazine in Bombay for many years. So to that extent, I think I always wrote. In order to become a creative writer in that sense, I actually had to throw up my journalism job, and it all started with this book. So this book is called Visha Was a Writer, and I don't know if you can see it clearly. There's a girl up there, and that's Visha, and the title of the book, Visha Was a Writer. It's about a girl called Visha who wants to be a writer. And so I started writing this book when I had just had my first baby, and there were very long nap times when she was just 2 or 3 months old, and I used to get bored, so I used to sit and write. And when this book got published by Penguin, it won the Crossword Award for Best Children's Book. And after that, there was no looking back. I decided to write more. I went on to write a very popular children's series called Horrid High. And this went on to have a sequel called Horrid High Back to School. I also wrote very serious looking biography of B.R. Ambedkar for teenagers. This was also written for Penguin. And this year I've launched this book, which is my first grown-up book, and it's called Maidless in Mumbai. Sangeeta. Sangeeta's question. Hi, Sangeeta. Your question is how to select a book. I mean, based on how should you make a selection? You mean a book to read, I'm assuming. How do you select a book to read? I always think the best way to select a book to read is actually to go to a bookstore. I know there are far fewer of them around now, but if you go to a bookstore and you look at books, then you get a sense of what's out there. Another thing is to look at reading lists. There are summer reading lists. There is the Oprah Book Club. Join a book club in your area, Sangeeta. That's a good way of getting a few people who are book clubbers involved and engaged. Look up, I mean, even in the newspapers, there are always book review columns. So it's not that difficult to find a book that you want to read. Get on to Goodreads. There's always books being recommended. And every time you like a book and you read it, don't forget to recommend it. It definitely helps other people to pick up the book. There is no basis on what that selection should happen, Sangeeta. I think you should select a book that you find attractive. Sometimes we get wooed by just the cover. We like the cover. Sometimes we just like the title, Maidless in Mumbai. If you like the title, pick up the book. Sometimes you've already read something by this author and you've liked this author and you want to read those books again. So there can be all kinds of reasons to pick up a book. If you enjoy it, it's the right book for you. There's no rule about it. Kritika, I can see in what tense should we write? No absolute rule about that either. Kritika asks whether we need to write in past tense or present tense. So I usually write my books in past tense, but when I was writing this book is the diary of a maidless mother. So I did not write it in past tense. I wrote it in present tense because it's literally like she's telling you the story as it unfolds. So it depends on the kind of effect you are trying to create. I can also see that some people are saying that they really like my home. So thank you so much. As you can see, I try to keep the space behind me really quiet and uncluttered because it helps my mind to feel uncluttered. Kavita Khemka says, my daughter has read Horrid High. I'm so happy. I hope she liked it. I also see something from Jagmeet Kaur. I have so many ideas in my mind, she says. But when I start writing, I find myself blank. Why has this happened? Jagmeet Kaur, this is a very normal phenomena. People who write all the time face it as well. But let me tell you, the more often you write, the more frequently you write, the easier it becomes. The muse doesn't know where to turn up every day, okay? Your inspiration doesn't know where to find you. So if you're always in the same place every day at the same time, it does help for inspiration to flow. You know, writing is kind of like when you're drilling for oil. So you have to drill every day and you don't know if you're going to hit oil or not. You don't know if you're going to strike oil. But then one day you actually do strike oil and the writing begins. The flow of thought begins. So Jagmeet Kaur, I would suggest that you keep at it. Even if you find yourself blanking out, write about things around you. Write about something someone said and how it made you feel. Start with something you know and keep at it. And you will find that the writing will come. All of us can write and all of us have stories to tell. I can see a message from Latika again. How easy was it for you to approach the publisher? as a lot of self-publication options are also there. Should we first write the book or should we approach the publisher before that? No, definitely write the book. It doesn't make sense to approach a publisher till the book is written. And publishers do ask for completed manuscripts. And I think even for the creative process to work, you should have a sense of what you're going to write about and not be asking people for opinions before you have finished writing. Let it be your vision, please. So definitely write the book and then approach a publisher. Self-publishing is an option, but it's not easy to sell books. So I would always recommend it's easier to go with a publisher. They have a great distribution network, and that way you can be engaged with what you enjoy, which is writing, and let the publisher take care of the publication, the sales, the marketing, and the distribution. That doesn't have to become your problem. I can see a message from Neha Jindal. How do we conduct a book reading? Where is Neha Jindal? Let me look. Hold on. How do we conduct a book reading club for kids? Well, Neha, there are again great lists online, reading lists online, like reading for your summer vacation, reading for sporty kids, reading for girls, reading for boys. So based on what kind of a book club you are starting, is it a book club for girls, for boys? What is your age group? Reading for 10-year-olds, for example. You'll find a fantastic reading list. It's also a great idea to go to a bookstore and to look at what books engage you, to read about 10 of them, even to find 3 books that you love, and then to form a book club with kids in your neighborhood who are preferably of the same age or the same reading readiness. Because if the reading levels of all the kids are different, it will be very hard to conduct a book club where everyone is on the same wavelength. And thereafter, you collect 3 or 4 books, set a reasonable deadline. I've done a similar book club at the school level for my own kids. We generally read 1 book every 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, generally books for kids, it's better to have some kind of a crossword or a puzzle, something to engage the kids when we actually discuss the book. Kids can't speak without a structure or a framework. So it helps to have some kind of a crossword that you can devise, or a treasure hunt around the book, or a quiz. Kids enjoy that. And maybe at the end of that book club, there could be a giveaway prize for the most engaged child. That always incentivizes kids to read and to be engaged. Let me see what other questions I can answer. Nidhi, hi. It says you're asking for some ideas for writing a children's book. So Nidhi, your best ideas lie in your own imagination. So if no idea occurs to you, maybe you need to read more children's books. If you're going to write a children's book, go out there and pick up 10 children's books that catch your eye and start reading them. And believe me, they will fire up your imagination and you will think of things to write about. There is no right or wrong. Follow your imagination, write what you want to, follow your heart. And it will go well. Kavita Khemka says, my younger daughter wants to write something. She is 8 years old. Can she? She keeps on writing on her own and she makes a lot of mistakes. Kavita, I was 10 years old when I started writing, and I have to admit my writing was pretty bad when I began. But my parents were excellent liars and they told me it was fabulous. So I think what your daughter needs right now is a lot of encouragement from you. So even if she's making a lot of mistakes, overlook the mistakes, tell her she's fabulous, encourage her writing, encourage her to share her writing with other friends. She can even find a writing buddy at school or in the apartment block where you live, somebody who can write with her, or the both of them are writing and can exchange ideas with each other. That really helps for kids, just to have one writing buddy. And she should be writing, and she can write about just about anything she wants to write about. Don't get in the way, get out of the way, just encourage her and let her write. I have Preeti Sampath saying, my son is writing, but somewhere he is confused with the slogans used in stories. Preeti, I'm not clear what your question is. If you would clarify, I'll come back to your question later. I see another question from Kavita. Should you opt for traditional or self-publishing? How does one go about either option? Kavita, there's no right or wrong answer, but I would say definitely first try to publish the traditional way. If that doesn't work, then self-publishing is always an option. But there are many benefits to publishing the traditional way. For one, you get editorial expertise. The publishing house has editors who are used to looking at books all the time, and you would get somebody to give you honest and critical feedback about your book. There is also somebody to ready your book for the market and for publication. And publishing houses are just much better at putting your book together in terms of helping you design a cover, in terms of distributing your book, nationwide, and making sure that it's available on Amazon or available in bookshops. A lot of this is very uphill when you go the self-publishing way. So I would suggest that you look at a traditional publishing house first. If that doesn't work, there's always the self-publishing route. There is also a very interesting website called Wattpad. Wattpad. I'm going to try and write it down so you guys can see. Hold on a second. And if you go to Wattpad, can you guys see that? It's Wattpad. If you guys go to Wattpad, you can actually post a serialized version of your book as you write it. You can be writing a chapter at a time. There are lots of book enthusiasts and writing enthusiasts who you will find on Wattpad, and they will be giving you feedback as well about whether they like your writing or not, and you will be able to actually weigh whether your writing works, it doesn't work, what kind of audience it attracts. So Kavita, I would suggest you try that out. Thanks, Prachi. I have you saying that you're quite inspired, and it's lovely to hear. I also see a message from Arwa. What type of trend or interest is going in reading for teenagers? Arwa, it changes. Up to maybe a year or 2 years ago, dystopian fiction was very big. So, there was Hunger Games, and there was Divergent, and there was loads of writing for teenagers that had to do with a dark future. And I think teenagers really enjoyed that. I also think if you look at The Fault in Our Stars, for example, teenagers are also enjoying more mature storytelling. The Fault in Our Stars is about, if you haven't read the book, it's about two teenagers who fall in love and they're terminally ill. So it's a very sad, heartbreaking book. And I was quite amazed that teenagers took to it, but they did. So I think teenagers are growing up very fast. You have to treat them like young adults. They are far more grown up than we used to be, and they can pretty much handle adult storytelling. So just write about something that you know and you understand and something that you're familiar with. Don't follow a trend. Because if your book is just one of 100 books following a trend, what's going to make it stand out? Nothing really. So just follow your heart, follow your imagination, and don't look at the trends. But it does help if you're going to write for teenagers to read at least 5 to 10 books for teenagers that are already out there to get a sense of the voice. That really helps. I see something from Apurva. Thank you so much. She says, stay blessed and keep writing. I plan to. She says, how do you start working on the story? What do you do if you're stuck somewhere? And she also says she's waiting to read Madeless in Mumbai. This is actually a little request from me to all of you. Any of you who do read Madeless in Mumbai, I would be so touched and so grateful if you actually went onto Goodreads and onto Amazon and you posted even a 3 or a 4-line review of the book. What you liked, even what you didn't like is fine. I can handle criticism, but I'd love to hear from you. And it would guide other readers in terms of what the book is about. Apurva, to answer your question, how do you start working on the story? To me, the approach varies from writer to writer. Some writers just start writing as the words come to them. And that's also a lovely way to write. I find that I dance between that approach and the approach where I actually write out an outline for my book. So on some days when I'm feeling very inspired, I just start writing. On other days when the inspiration is slow to come, when I'm staring at a blank screen, I try to work out an outline or a structure of my book in terms of where would I like it to begin, where do I want it to go, what am I trying to say. And sometimes I even work through a scene-by-scene kind of structure of the book. So I think if you're finding it hard to get started, working out an outline really helps. Does that answer your question? Tanushri is asking, was it easy to leave your regular job? No, Tanushri, it was not. I was terrified. I was scared witless because I had spent at least a decade being a journalist. I was scared that I would quit journalism and then I would become a housewife. And somehow now this is considered sort of like insulting word. And people assume that if you're a housewife or if you're a stay-at-home mom, that you don't do anything. But you actually do a lot. And it is a full-time job, as I think most of you know. And it's a job that doesn't pay you at all. And your boss can lie down on the floor and throw a tantrum at any moment. So it's actually a pretty terrible job in some ways. So I was scared to quit my job as a journalist to try writing this book. I was afraid that I would fail and then I would be stuck at home. And all I would be doing is, running a house or looking after kids, which is a lot of work, but doesn't always give you a sense of achievement. But I think there's no right or wrong answer to this. I think at some point you just have to be ready to make that leap. And I was just tired of saying to people when I met them that I am a journalist and I intend to become a writer, but I have not yet become a writer. I basically wanted to put my money where my mouth was. So I decided enough of all this bullshitting, and I'm just going to try and write this book that I want to write. So basically I quit. I decided to try writing. I was only halfway through this book. And now this part of my life is kind of just fairy tale. I know it doesn't happen to most people. I had only written half the book. I had stopped believing in it. At that point, I called up Penguin and I, sent them this half of the book. I didn't expect, any kind of positive response, at least for a few months. And I got an email back from them in about short of 30 minutes. And they said, we would like your telephone number. We'd like to call you. And by now I knew something was strange. My heart started racing and I gave them my telephone number. So they gave me a call and they said, where is the other half of the book? We love it. And I said, I don't have another half. I just lost faith in the book and I haven't written the other half. At which point they told me, if you write the rest of the book and you finish the book in 1 month, we'll run it. And that was enough fuel for me to give up on all the self-doubt and to start writing. And I wrote the entire book. It went on to win the Crossword Award that year. And after that, there was no looking back. So that is a fairy tale, but I also think you just got to decide you want to do something, and then the universe kind of throws everything into place and things happen. And once you start believing in something that you're doing and you actually do it, then everybody else starts helping you along the way. And it does become easier. I see a message again from Kavita. How does one plan the outline of a book? Number of chapters, number of pages. Kavita, number of chapters or number of pages is not planned beforehand. As you write, you'll be able to tell whether this is promising to be a larger book or a smaller book. For example, this book, Visha Was a Writer, is only 77 pages long. And I was asked, for example, by many journalists right after the book was published, why I wrote such a tiny book. And I said that I just decided to shut up when I had nothing more to say. I think that is a good rule to follow. If you feel you have nothing more to say, stop writing. But there is no fixed number of pages or chapters that will emerge as you write. I can see a question again from Kritika. She says that she's an educational book writer. That's fabulous, but she's never tried to write a storybook or a novel. She wants to write for ladies. What point should I consider while writing? Very good question. Kritika, even I was making a leap across genres. I started out writing for children. I was very comfortable when I was writing children's books. So when I was writing Horrid High, for example, I was very, very comfortable writing for children of a certain age group. When I was writing Made Bliss in Mumbai, I did feel quite lost. I felt like a fish out of water initially because I was writing for grown-ups. But I think you get the hang of it. I think when you're writing for women, at least from your own age group, you have to write like you are speaking to a friend. So you are not explaining things to them the way you would in an educational book. You are just telling them a story. You are keeping it more conversational, and you are assuming that your reader is quite intelligent and can actually connect the dots. Don't spell out everything for them, that actually bores your reader. Leave some things unsaid. And I like to think that in a good book, the words are as important as the spaces in between. What you don't say is as important as what you say. And if you can balance those, then you can write for ladies. Nothing stops you. And good luck if you do want to write a ladies book. And I'd be very curious to see what you come up with. And I would love to read it one day. I see something from Jayashri. How do royalties work? So Jayashri, royalties are worked into your contract. The way it works is you approach a publishing house with your manuscript. If the publishing house decides to purchase your manuscript, and I keep adjusting the computer here, so just forgive me. If the publishing house decides to publish your manuscript, they will issue a contract to you. And that contract is negotiable. You can negotiate how much of an advance you want on the book. So they pay you something for the book in terms of an advance, and then they pay you something called a royalty, which is basically your commission for every copy of the book you sell. Generally, for first-time authors, I think the royalty would be much lower. It would be pegged at about 5 to 7%. But if you are an author with an established track record, and if they really want to let you come on board, then they would try to tempt you with a better royalty. So the royalty figures would be more like 15% or even 20%. You know, what you negotiate depends on your negotiating strength. I see a question again from Sangeeta. How to encourage or tips for 6-year-olds? Sangeeta, what do you mean? Tips for writing or tips for reading? I've posted a question to you there. So if you can clarify that, that would help. I see a question again from Kavita. I have a mini book library at my house. I love buying books and love reading. And now planning to start my own book library. Kavita, I hope my books can find a home in your library. I think that's a fantastic thing. And I think more of us should have libraries. It's really sad because when we were growing up, we all had little libraries around our localities where we lived. And I spent some of my happiest childhood hours sitting in a library and reading. And I don't think my kids see that anymore, and they buy all their books online. The libraries are a great way to expose kids to books. When you go to Amazon, you need to know what you are looking for. It's very hard to browse. So if there are people out there who are starting libraries, that's great. Authors like us need more people like you. Jagmeet, can we trust online offers? Some of them are demanding our stories. Jagmeet, I'm not sure. I've never actually explored anything like that. I don't have an answer for you. The more honest thing to tell you would be I don't know. You could probably release a portion of your story to them, but I do not think you should give away your entire story to anybody online till you know who they are, because then how do you protect your copyright and how do you make sure that your story isn't stolen by anybody else? I'm really not sure how that works. How many pages should an autobiography contain? That is Kavita's question. Again, there is no should or shouldn't. Depends on how interesting your autobiography is and how much you have to tell. It could be 100 pages long, it could be 300 pages long. But remember, don't overwrite. You don't want to lose the interest of your reader. Prachi says, women are multitasking. Most of you are entrepreneurs struggling to find our place. Hey Prachi, that's lovely. You have actually posted a recommendation for Kritika Saxena. Kritika, you were looking for ideas on what to write for women and you found your idea right here. Prachi says that most of us are multitasking and struggling to find our identities. Why don't you write about that? And yes, I definitely think all of us have stories there to tell. Samriddhi asks, how do we encourage 7-year-olds to write stories? You encourage your 7-year-old to write a story of her own by letting her read what she likes to read. By not telling her what to read, I think a lot of parents kill their children's love of reading by telling them what to read. Please do not tell your kids what to read. If you want them to read a particular book, leave it lying around casually. Maybe read one chapter out of it at bedtime. Leave it at a suspenseful moment and walk away. And let the child discover that she or he wants to read that book. Don't force your kid to read a particular book. Don't ask them questions and answers after they've read the book. Don't turn it into a school exercise. Reading should be about freedom. And once your daughter enjoys reading Samriddhi, she will be ready to write stories of her own if she feels like. Just give her a notebook and her pen, give her a quiet space where she can write, and don't tell her what to do. And that, I think, is the best way to get kids to write. I also see, Kavita thanks me for the encouragement, and you're very welcome, Kavita. I see another message. Traditional publishing is about the publishing houses paying you for the right to publish. Yes, okay. So there's a very, very good question out here. Somebody has asked, what is the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing? I should have clarified this earlier. So traditional publishing, yes, is where you sell your book to a publishing house. Okay, whether you go to Penguin or you go to Bloomsbury or you go to Oxford or you go to HarperCollins, and there are loads of even smaller Indian publishers out there. When you go to a publishing house with your manuscript and you sell them the right to publish your manuscript, that is very different from traditional, that is very different from self-publishing. In self-publishing, you actually pay to get your book published, but I call it a headache. The headache of selling your book, of trying to convince bookstores to stock your book, of even getting your book to be seen becomes pretty much yours. That's self-publishing. I have never explored self-publishing. I'm not an expert on it. I could much easier answer your questions on traditional publishing, and I would recommend that you follow that route and explore self-publishing only if traditional publishing fails. In case you came in late into the discussion, again, I'm saying Wattpad is a great place to go if you're looking at self-publishing or you're looking at sharing your writing with people out there and evaluating your writing. Do you even have it in you to be a writer? Is there any future in what you are trying to write? I think this is a good place to go. I see something from Prachi. My 11-year-old loves humor and writes only that. Does that have any scope in the market? It has fantastic scope. In fact, I love humor writing too, and all my books from, well, Visha was a writer, was also a funny book in some ways, because Visha meets a little bookworm and she goes, there he is hanging off the W, and she goes on a writing adventure. And if you look at my book Horrid High, it's also a very, very funny book. It's horrid and it's funny. Maidless in Mumbai is my attempt at writing a funny book for grown-ups. So definitely humor writing works. People love to be entertained. People love to laugh. People need to laugh more. So if your 11-year-old loves humor, that's just great. Encourage it. Tell us the difference, Kritika says, between fiction and non-fiction, as many people don't know. So this is fiction. It is me making up a story from my imagination and writing it and telling it. And very simply, this is non-fiction. This is the story of a real person called B.R. Ambedkar and what he did in his life. So that is non-fiction. So I think a biography or an autobiography would count as non-fiction, whereas fiction is something that comes out of your imagination. It's something you make up. I see Arva Badri has asked, is Maidless in Mumbai a story based on how to handle maids? You know, I'm not an expert on handling maids. Take it one day to the next. On a good day, my maid is in. On a bad day, my maid is not. And yes, so Maidless in Mumbai does have many tips on how to handle being maidless. And it is not my story. It is only partly my story. It is the story of many, many women like us who struggle with being maidless and struggle between the choice of running a home and wanting to do something of their own. And the maid represents basically the choice. And if you have someone to help you, that's the only way sometimes you can juggle all the different jobs that get thrown at you just by virtue of the fact that you're a woman and you have a family. So it doesn't have any, it has some wisdom, but I don't think the heroine knows all the answers. I don't think any of us know all the answers. We figure them out as we go, and sometimes we're none the wiser. I can see again a question from Kavita Panyam. What's the right way of approaching publishers? Kavita, if you go online, all the publishing houses have a website, and on their website, they have something called submissions. If you go under submissions, there are very clear guidelines how they want you to submit a manuscript. I would urge you to follow those guidelines very, very closely. For example, it may be something very simple in terms of they want the manuscript to be sent in a soft copy. Other publishers say, no, we want a hard copy of the manuscript mailed to us. Some people want it double spaced. Some people want it single spaced. Some editors want to see the entire manuscript, and some editors want to see the first 3 chapters. So you have to check in the publishing house what are their submission guidelines, and accordingly submit your manuscript in order for it to have its best shot at getting seen. So don't ignore the guidelines. I can see what else is out there. Okay, so Sangeeta, you clarified. You wanted to know tips for writing. Now, hold on. Let me see. Were you asking for your child or for yourself? Let me see if I can find you again, because there's a long, long train of questions coming in. Yes, so you want to encourage your 6-year-old, I can see. Yeah, and you want to encourage your 6-year-old to write. I answered this question for somebody whose child was just a slight bit older than yours. But basically, the best way to get kids to write is to do a couple of things. One is to encourage them to read. Now, how do we encourage children to read? Children follow by example. So instead of lecturing them to read, it would be lovely if your kids could see you reading. So I hope you're reading and you're not on your phone all the time or watching TV all the time. So if you're reading, it's more likely your child will read. Keep fun books lying around. Sometimes if you want your child to read a particular kind of book, just leave that book lying around. Read a chapter out of that book. And don't force the child to read something she doesn't want to read. In order to encourage her to write, also give her a lot of free time. Gift her an attractive notebook and a pencil or a pen, and give her a lot of free time. Children are at their most creative when they're allowed to be bored, and when there is no iPad and no television around to fill up all that free time. I think my biggest complaint, even with my own kids, that kids are just not allowed to be bored anymore. There are just too many classes. There's too much time for iPad and video games and television, and children are reading less. Yes, they're definitely reading less. And because they're reading less, they're writing less. So allow your children to be bored. Give them notebooks and pencils and paper and crayons, and surround them with wonderful books, and turn reading into a family activity. Read with them when you are relaxed and when you can enjoy reading with them, and you'll find that they're able to write as well. Kids are exceptionally creative and imaginative, and if left to their own devices, they will write. I also see somebody asking, hold on, do I have contacts with publishing houses? Tanushri, if you want to message me separately, yes, I'm very happy to share whatever contacts I do have with publishing houses, but they would like you to follow the traditional route, which is you still have to submit a manuscript and you still have to follow the submission guidelines. And I'm happy to help any of you in any which way if further information is required. Bhavna is asking, many a times, if things come up in my mind, I fail to pen them down. How do I just put them on paper? Bhavna, very good question. I think what stops us from actually putting things on paper is the fact that we are very self-conscious. And when we are writing, we are always wondering, am I putting this the right way? Or should I be saying this another way? Or what words should I be using? But I think if you don't censor yourself and if you just allow yourself to write freely, at least to begin with, not writing to be read by others or writing to be published, start by just trying to write for your own pleasure. Then you will find yourself relaxing and you'll be able to write more freely. And once that flow comes, you won't get so fearful about writing. It will be easier to write, and writing will turn into a joy. And I think all of us can write. Maybe not all of us are writing for publication, but yes, all of us can write. Just enjoy it. Write it as a personal diary. If it's really bad, you don't have to show it to anybody else. You can keep it for your own consumption. I see a message from Kokil. Hi, Kokil. How do you strike a balance between creative writing and content writing? Kokil, can you clarify what you mean by content writing before I answer that? I'll come back to your question. I see something from Bhavna. Again, no, I do not. Hold on. I see something from Prachi Chopra. Should one consider writing a blog first before venturing to the level of novel writing just to assess your writing strength? Prachi, it's not a bad idea. There's no right or wrong answer. I have never written a blog. The only kind of writing I had done was journalistic writing. But yes, I had done a lot of writing as a journalist, and I had a fair sense of how to write, and I also had a fair sense of how much people appreciated or didn't appreciate my writing before I went into creative writing. So I think if you haven't had any writing experience, it's not a bad idea to start with a blog. Start with a blog, and you can evaluate what kind of response you're getting. You can calibrate your own writing as per the response, and then go into creative writing. That's not a problem. I think that's a good way to go. I see a question again from Bhavna. What and who reads blogs? I mean, how much exposure does blogging get? I'm not a blogger. I would not be able to tell you that, but I have friends who are bloggers, and blogging does get a lot of exposure. Again, there is a magic. There is no magic formula, but there is a certain magic chemistry between an author and the reader. How you achieve that chemistry, nobody knows. But sometimes when you blog, maybe it's the topic you're writing about, maybe it's your voice, maybe it's the honesty with which you write. But something you write strikes a chord with the reader. And you just have to be willing to take your chances. Be honest, write from your heart, and write about something that you really feel for. I always tell people, don't search for trends when you write. Write for something that you understand or something that you have strong feelings about. And I think readers relate to that. And good blogs do have very large followings and a lot of visibility. And I think that's a very promising way of exploring writing, at least if you're just starting out. Megha, you are saying your manuscript is ready, and I am considering several publishing houses, but people say Amazon is good. Megha, I don't know how Amazon is for self-publishing. I'm assuming it is a great option to try, but maybe you will know more about this and you can educate me once you have tried it. But I have tried the traditional publishing route. It has worked very well for all my books. I would strongly urge that you consider that route as well. There's a lot of guidance on that route in terms of editorial expertise, in terms of developing a cover for your book, just in terms of getting your book seen. I would strongly urge you to consider traditional publishing before you try anything else. Anupama, what is your guidance for those who want to write but have no formal education in writing? So, well, writing, like painting or like some creative pursuits, a lot of it is self-taught. So the great thing is you don't have to be taught how to write. I have never done a creative writing course. Yes, I got a lot of practice writing as a journalist, but journalistic writing is very, very different. And it's very bound by the facts. And creative writing is all about your imagination. And you actually don't have to care about the facts at all, and you can lie a lot. So you have to be able to speak the truth if you want to be a journalist. You have to be an incredibly good liar if you want to write creatively. I would say that you don't have to worry about guidance. Just go ahead and start writing. As I said, for example, there are websites like Wattpad where you can put your writing up and you can gauge whether your writing works or not with other people. The other thing would be to develop a writing club. If you find somebody in your neighborhood, for example, who likes writing, and you develop a writing buddy system where you write with a buddy or you share your writing with a buddy once a week, or you join a writing circle where there are other people like you who are writing, that would be a great way to write. There are also writers' workshops that get conducted. For example, there is a publishing house called Duckbill. Let me write that down. Can everybody see that? That's Duckbill. So Duckbill is a children's publishing house based in India, and they are always looking for new authors, for example, for children's writing, and they do conduct 2-day workshops, 3-day workshops in different cities. So if you could go to their website, for example, and if you were interested in children's writing, you could attend one of these workshops, and it would be a fantastic way to get introduced to the whole process of creative writing. I see something else. Okay, there's lots of people wishing me good luck. Thank you so much. I really need all the luck because my house is also a chaos factory and it looks very quiet right now. But that's because all of you guys are on and you're watching me. But generally the space behind me, there will be somebody who's swabbing the floor and then somebody else who's slamming the door of the bathroom there. And then usually if one of my children has decided to stay home that day, they'll be running around in the back. So, you know, I'm also writing in constant confusion and chaos. So I need all the luck in the world and thank you so much for all that luck. I see something from Sangeeta again. What's the best way you suggest for kids to start writing? Well, definitely kids should be writing fiction. I don't see how a child can write non-fiction because for non-fiction, you have to be an authority in some subject, okay, Sangeeta? So the child has to be writing about something that he knows a lot about. I think non-fiction is more for grown-ups and kids should stick to fiction. Kavita Panyam, one more question from you. How does one negotiate on a price with a traditional publishing house, especially for a debut writer? Kavita, you don't have much negotiating power when you begin, neither did I. And so generally, it's very hard to negotiate with a publishing house. There are a couple of agencies in India, so I did not go the agency route. But for example, if as an author, as a fledgling author, you sign up with a literary agency and you can look up, there are a couple of literary agencies in India, then your agent might be able to negotiate a better deal for your first book, but your agent will also earn a commission on that. Okay, now I see a message from Megha. Megha, you are saying that once your book is launched, you would like to contact me for the same. I'm very happy to share my email address. I'm going to actually type it out for everybody and feel free to drop me a line. That's my email address there. And Megha, you can write to me there. I'm happy to help you in any which way I can. Sangeeta, what are your tips on writing educational books, you're asking me? Oh gosh, I do not know because I do not write educational books. I write fiction and I would assume that for any kind of educational book, the closest any of my books comes to that is this book. This B.R. Ambedkar book, which was a biography of B.R. Ambedkar for teenagers. I had to do a lot of research on the life of B.R. Ambedkar. I must have read about 6 or 7 very large books. I spoke to a lot of Ambedkar experts. I interviewed them and thereafter I wrote my own book. So I think if you are going to write an educational book, you need to first educate yourself on that subject, be very strong on that subject, and then you can write a book about it. Let me see, have I missed anybody else here? I see Bhavna asking, are there certain topics which should be considered popular? Or then anything what you want to write? Yes, Bhavna is asking whether there are certain topics that are popular to write about, or you can write about just about anything. And again, I want to say you can write about just about anything. There's no right or wrong answer. I prefer to write about things that I already know. So for example, when I write for children, I write for children in the age group of 10 to 13. Because my children are in that age group, and so I know a lot of kids in that age group. I know how they think, I know how they speak. I also know what kind of books they like. So I feel very comfortable writing for kids in that age group. And in the case of Madeless in Mumbai, like I said, this was my story. It was also the story of hundreds of women around me. All my friends gave me stories for the book. In fact, after you read the book, you will find that very little of these stories came from my own imagination. Everything was real. Even the most far-fetched things in the book actually happened to people around me. And so I think a lot of inspiration comes from real life as well. Don't follow a trend. Don't look at what other people are doing. Look closely at your own life and dive deep into your own imagination. And I think you'll find your best stories lying in those places. I think we are running out of time. We have only 5 minutes left, and I see another question from Kavita. If we approach the traditional publishers on our own, we have to settle with what they quote. Is that right? Yes, Kavita, I think you have to weigh a few things. You see, when you are publishing for the first time, you have to think of the caliber of the publisher as well. If you are publishing with a big publishing house, they are likely to pay you less because they are also banking on the fact that there's a lot of prestige behind that publishing house, and that's going to help to sell your book. So, you definitely come up with a figure of your own. Don't be afraid to negotiate. Ask for what you need. Ask nicely. There is no harm in asking for anything nicely, but be aware that even they are in a position where they can turn you down, and you can then arrive at some negotiated figure. There's nothing wrong with negotiation per se. I think that author should negotiate. What should you keep in mind? Like I said, keep in mind the prestige and the position of the publishing house you are approaching. Also keep in mind what else they are planning to do for you. I think a good question to ask is what kind of print run they are looking at for your book, because generally speaking, if the larger the print run for the book, the better the marketing will be for the book. And I think it's very important to not only to write the book, but also to make sure that your publisher is going to support you in getting the book to be seen by lots of people and making the book visible. Because if you write a book and nobody knows about you and nobody knows about the book, then really what's the point, right? So I think you need to evaluate all that, and also how confident you feel. If you are going to turn down that publisher, are you confident following the self-publishing route? Do you want to, basically do all that work on your own? I would suggest negotiating a little less on your first book, but getting your foot in the door and getting yourself published. That's a huge milestone. Once you've crossed that, you've got your foot in the door and you've established a relationship with your publisher, you can always negotiate for better terms on your next book. Does that help? Are there any other questions I have missed? I am looking. Thank you, Tanushree, for all the good wishes. I hope all of you can get to writing and encourage your kids to write. Can you name a few good traditional publishing houses? Yes, I can. Madeless in Mumbai was published by Bloomsbury. My other children's books were published by Penguin. They have a children's wing called Puffin. Their adult wing is called Penguin. You can also look at HarperCollins. You can look at Hachette. You can look at Rupa Publishing, which is a more local publishing house. If you're looking at children's publishing, you can look at Tara. You can look at Katha. You can look at Pratham. They are fantastic for early children's picture books. You can also look at Duckbill Publishing. So there's loads of options out there. Check them all out before you decide. Read a few books released by different publishing houses. It will also help you form an educated opinion about what publishing house appeals to you. Is there anything else I have missed? I'm looking. I think I've covered it all. Thank you so much, Latika, for all the good luck. Thank you, all of you. And if I could just ask for one small thing in return, I would be so grateful if you guys posted reviews of my book on Amazon or on Goodreads. And I'd love to hear from you in terms of whether you liked the book, what you liked about it, what your favorite parts were. I think one of the greatest joys of being a writer is to hear back from readers. So if that could be done, that would be thank you enough. Thank you, all of you. It was lovely being here. I'm going to finish now. Thank you so much. Bye.